Let's start with objects. Now let's say we have some code, car.java, and of course that's only code, but once we make this Mercedes or Porsche or Ford instance, that's when it becomes an object. And an object, each one is different. Mercedes is different than a Porsche, and each one, although they're very similar, they act the same way, they're all cars, they're all very individual, they're very separate. For instance, a Mercedes might be red, it might have low gas right now, whereas a Porsche might be, I don't know, blue and be full of gas. And so each object is different from the other, although they have the same code. And that's exactly like real-world objects. All cars, in general behave the same, but they're all totally different. You wouldn't consider them the same in that sense. And that's what an instance is. Now, static is something where every class has the same value or function. That's very key. And that means that it's static. It's not changing. An instance, it can change. It can change the number of wheels, for instance, that the car currently has. Maybe the wheels are being changed. Now, a simple example of what I mean is math.random. That's the same functionality every single time to get a random number. It's a different value, but it's the same functionality. Math.power 2 to the 3, of course, will always get you the same value and the same functionality because you gave it the same inputs. Now, as an example for cars, the roads might be a static variable. And that's because every single car on this racetrack, let's say it's a racetrack for ease, is going to have the exact same road, and it's a dirt or paved or a brick road, something along those lines. And everyone wants to be able to see that variable equally. It's not going to change, and if it does change, it's going to change for everyone. And that's very key, that when it means static, yes, it actually can change. The truth is it can change, but it's going to be static in the sense that for everyone it's the same. And now the same thing with starting a race or stopping a race. Everyone will be able to see that if it's a static variable. If it's its own variable, meaning it's just part of the object, each car might have a started race or a stopped race, and they're not all going to be in sync in that sense. Now, one of the nice features of static is, of course, that it's very easy to change, it's very easy to see. But the main key thing is that it has the same value for everyone, and if that's what you want from your variable, then it should be static. So now we might have variables very similar to regular variables. We just add the word static. So public static in current road equals 0 means it might be a paved road, and that's what the current road is, and any car can check that value or change that value, and you'll see how in a second. But this is confusing. So instead, we're going to make public static final int dirt equals 0, paved equals 1, and then we're going to set current road equal to dirt. Now the word final there means that number can't be changed once the program is compiled. And this is just very useful, and you'll see it a lot to tell you what a number means. And it's just good for a programmer to see exactly what does it mean in terms of context. It's just a helpful tool, that's all. But either way is technically fine. So now to make a static method, all we have to do is add the word static to the method, just like public static boolean check license. And we hand it the string license, and that checks the database to see if the license exists. And we don't have to know anything about any car. We just want to check a license. We don't care anything about anything else, so we just hand it a string. And the way we're going to do that is just like car.checkLicense, and we're going to send it a string. It's just that simple. And that's what I meant before. When static methods are very easy to use, it's because you don't have to know a Ferrari or something like that. You can just hand it a string. In this case, there may not even be an instance existing to check. We might be handing out the license before we've even made the car, and therefore we're just checking a random string, for instance. And we don't even have an instance to work on yet. The static method gives us this functionality without having an object, without having a Ferrari car yet, because we're just dealing with license plates. Now, to access the public static variables is a very similar code. Just car.currentRoad, and we can set that equal to car.paved, for instance. And this is just using those final variables that just make everything so much easier to manipulate and change. Alright, thank you for watching, and if you have any comments or you want to rate it, please feel free, and any suggestions on any specific tutorials if you'd like.